Welcome back to the show. This time around we're going to take a little further step back in time to Sega's 32-bit behemoth, the Sega Saturn. Now, it's well documented that the Saturn had a plethora of games that was released in Japan only, certainly after the machine died in the later part of 1998, this game being no exception. Released in the October of 1998, this was a game that was almost arcade perfect, some would say, but to get that you would require the RAM card. This game came out for the Saturn and also the PlayStation, and is a conversion of the arcade game which came out the year before. Now, although the PlayStation 1 version is seen as inferior, the Saturn version does require, as I said, the 4MB RAM expansion card to get the performance that's required from the game. I'm not going to discount out the PlayStation 1 version from here because I don't want to fanboy too much, but in actual fact, the PlayStation version did actually add some bits and pieces to its Western release, which was in 1999. It had like a hero battle mode, crossover and training modes, as well as a gallery, which the Saturn version lacks. But we're here to talk about the Saturn version and how accessible it is for a Western audience, a Japanese game. I'm actually quite impressed by this, because when you start up the game, boot it up, there's not really much standing in your way to getting straight into the action. The start screen is in English, and when you go into the options menu, the difficulty, the game speed, the save options and sound options are all in English. So you'd be fooled into thinking that this actually is, almost semi-localised, which was the case with a lot of Capcom games back then, that you could import them and still have a varying degree of English in the game itself. Sadly, where it does trip up slightly is at the end of the bouts. If you win or you lose, you usually get some trash talking or a little story element at the end of that bout, which is all in Japanese. So what you could do is hit up Google Translate on your phone and see whether you can roughly make out what the text says, but in all honesty, I don't think that hampers the enjoyment of this particular game. As you can see here, it's all the bells and whistles you expect from a Capcom beat-em-up. The graphics are absolutely amazing, the gameplay is very fluid. You'll have to excuse the capture quality from here. I've got a few glitches, and I assure you that I'm playing this on real hardware, but it is, for some reason, when it runs through my PC, it seems to have these artifacting going on in the background, and also a trifle slower than it should be, which, that's my problem, not your problem. But, so you've got plenty of characters you can choose from both the Marvel universes and the Capcom universe, and this game spawned a sequel, which was Marvel vs. Capcom, which was Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2, which came out for the Dreamcast later on, and both of those came out in the West, whereas this chappy here, if you want to play it on a Sega machine, your options would be having to get a copy from Japan, which was relatively easy up until a few years ago. I would say about 5 years ago you could obtain this game quite easily for about £20 to £25. Now we're looking more at the sort of £45 to £50 mark, because people aren't sleeping on Japanese Saturn games anymore. There is a massive collectible market for these games, and certainly other YouTubers more popular than myself have really gone leaps and bounds into showing what is available in the Japanese market for this console, and sometimes people actually favour that over the Western discs. Certainly a lot of them are in better condition, also they're not susceptible to the pinholes that you get in Western games. But do I think this game is worth it today? I think you should absolutely, definitely seek this game out, and I'll catch you in the next episode.